Hey everybody, my name is Jamie Stark. This is once again our Skype for Business video broadcast for today. Today is April the 8th, it's Friday, from beautiful, warm and sunny and wonderful Redmond, Washington, broadcasting live from the glorious Building 1. Once again, this is just our little kind of hangout area. We put together a video camera. I got my colleague Paul here in the back, who's looking after the Bing Pulse, which is on your left. And we also have beta feature here for Skype for Business, the Q&A manager down below. Apologies for starting a little bit late this morning. We have some interesting technical challenges that are going on with our remote presenter today. My boss and manager, Mr. BJ Habercorn, who's currently getting his internet squared away. And so we're going to be in a little bit of a wait and see mode to see how BJ's internet is operating. I do have BJ here in my control surface. One of the things that we try to do here is we've got one workstation. All that workstation is responsible for is just sending out the video. It's just doing the broadcast. And so I'm talking into that. Paul's over here off the side. He's monitoring the Bing Pulse. Remember to hit up the Bing Pulse questions. If you have any questions for us, Q&A manager down below. Always forget to remind folks about those two features going on in the broadcast. So want to hit those hard and heavy as we go through here. But anyway, so got a workstation going with the broadcast. Got a workstation down here, and I do see BJ here in the video window, which has been intermittent from time to time. So I actually do think that we're kind of good to go. I'm gonna as we're going here, I'm going to go and move us to our presentation material. I'm going to get that loaded up here. One of the other kind of great things about the broadcast capabilities, of course, you can have, just like any other Skype for Business meeting, you can have a bunch of different files and stuff all loaded in here and all ready to go. You can see that is operating in video and content, so that's good. As you can see, I'm making very incremental steps to the point where I'm gonna actually hand it over to BJ, because at any given time in here in the past, BJ's video or his audio has been suboptimal. So I'm actually gonna turn on BJ's audio. I can hear BJ now. BJ, how are things?
Hey, thanks very much, Jamie, and thanks everybody for joining us this morning. Jamie's joking a little bit, but I had to go reset my Comcast modem, and now things work great. If there's anybody from Comcast on the line, I'm sure your service is normally great. This doesn't usually happen. Anyway, thank you so much for joining today. If you've joined one of these broadcasts before, you know that often Jamie or one of the other people from the team will go fairly deep on a topic, and we'll have a good back and forth conversation. Today, we wanted to try something a little bit different. As you can see on the title slide, we're planning to go for getting more value from Skype for Business. And instead of going depth, I'm going to try to do this in a little bit more of a, let me take over as the presenter here. I'm going to do this as a bit more of a survey, or a quick run through of the three topics that you should be able to see on the slide. Now, one thing I want you to note, down at the very bottom, there's a pretty simple URL that you can use to get a copy of this presentation. The reason is that there are a number of useful URLs in it. And of course, we don't expect you to copy all of these or remember them. But in any event, the three areas I want to hit somewhat lightly, Jamie can add color, certainly ask questions in the Q&A manager, are first, if you're not using Skype for Business, why might you want to invest in it? To assess it, potentially to try it out, to deploy it, to help your people adopt it. So I'll give you one slide on business value, and then a couple of the recent case study examples that I found really striking. So that's topic one. The second one, if you decide you want to get started, what are the easiest ways to do it, both to try it and then to actually get started in terms of a deployment. And then finally, one of the things that we found, Jamie and I have been doing this for a few years with customers, one of the things we found is how you roll it out to the people in your organization is really an important factor in how quickly you see results and how quickly they see value out of the technology that you provide. So I'll give you a few of the assets we provide that can help with adoption inside your org. And if you're already using Skype for Business in your org and not aware of those, some of those things may help you. It may help you even accelerate the usage you're seeing. And Jamie, I hope I'm sounding good here. All right, I'm going to just go one slide forward. So why might you want to use it if you're not using it now? Very simply, what Skype for Business is about is on this slide. It's about allowing your people to communicate with one another wherever they are. This morning for Jamie and I, and actually everybody on the call, it's a pretty good example. I have a couple of kids. They are they are off from school today for a teacher break day. And right now I'm at home because our childcare doesn't start for another hour or so. And so the Skype for Business allows me to do things like this broadcast or my normal work pretty easily just from my basement. It can actually serve all of the communication needs of your company. It can be simple instant messaging all the way up to replacing your PBX systems. And right in the middle there is meetings like this one, a webinar, but actually all the meetings that you might do during the course of a day. So in a sentence, I would say what Skype for Business does is provide your people with a way to communicate in all the ways they need to conduct business. And for your organization, it gives you one system to do that instead of multiple. So why might that be valuable? Well, first, if you don't have a solution like this today, if you're still using traditional solutions, maybe a PBX system, maybe dial-in conferencing, this really can be transformative. You can make remote work like I'm doing today, or mobile work if you happen to be on the road or you've got a sales team. You can just make it much more effective with simple tools that work over the internet. If you're a company with more than one site, you can make it easier for people to collaborate across those sites and not have to travel between them. And then of course, outside your company even, it allows you a way to have a richer connection to customers, to partners, to suppliers. Now, you may be using similar solutions or competitive solutions today. Maybe you're using WebEx or GoToMeeting in your organization. Maybe you use dial-in conferencing from a traditional supplier. If you do, actually, you can probably save some money. You can see at the bottom of the slide, most of the people who have rights to Office 365 today have rights to all of the online meeting and instant messaging capability in Skype for Business. So you may already own it, and by using it, you might be able to eliminate the costs and the management of those separate systems. On the dial-in conferencing side, that's not in every one of the Office 365 SKUs, but it is in the new E5 SKU that we launched on December 1st. And if you've got a significant dial-in use in your organization today, we may be able to not only make it easier for people, but also save you a bit of money for it. This next slide is one where a couple of the case studies may be interesting to you. There are many more customer examples, but I really liked these two. We published the case studies actually within the last month. Kelly Services was at Enterprise Connect and talked a little bit about their experience. So I'll talk a little bit about each of these. As I say, download the deck, read the case study. You may get some good ideas in your organization. Kelly Services is pretty interesting. They provide temp services for a variety of things like school teachers. There could be other ones. Their company is worldwide. You can see on the slide, they've got over 10,000 employees. A few really interesting things I found them doing. The first is they've really got a corporate goal to let their 10,000 people work anywhere. And Skype for Business makes that pretty easy. They can have their phone calls ring in their basement, like I would have right now, or they can have it ring in an office. So it really allows them to implement their work anywhere approach very easily. The second bullet down I find fascinating and really a great use of the technology. I mentioned that Kelly Services, one of the things that they do is they provide substitute teachers. If you've got kids in school, you know that the substitute teacher comes up when the regular teacher gets sick, which generally happens last minute. It might happen the night before or the morning of. And one of the things Kelly Services does is they use instant messaging from Skype for Business to Skype, the Skype consumer client, to quickly ask the prospective temp teachers if they're available. It's just a great use of that combination of Skype for Business, the connectivity to Skype, and the hundreds of millions of people who know how to use it. They use this broadcast for quarterly town halls, and they're actually starting to replace their traditional PBX systems with the new Cloud PBX stuff that we put into Office 365. So I love their example of it because they're they're really using this technology both to make their business better, easier to reach the suppliers, in this case, the temporary teachers, and to make life easier and better for their employees with the work anywhere. You know, TRC is another really interesting one. The first bullet there is another one I like. They have a significant field staff, and often the sort of experts that might sit back in a corporate office need to reach them. So the field teams use mobile devices, whether it's an Android, whether it's an iPad or iPhone, what have you, and they can have rich interactions from the subject matter experts back in the corporate office to those people that are out working in the field. You know, so that's really a very modern use of technology, smartphones, audio, video conferencing, and sharing. The second one down, very traditional. They've used intercall dial-in conferencing, and they're replacing it with what we do in Office 365 and Skype for Business. Both really good examples of using the technology. The third one, I love these case studies. You can tell I love both of them. The third one, if you read the case study, they talk about how Skype for Business allows them to rapidly integrate acquisitions and new employees. So they bring in a new company, and because they're in Office 365, because they can provision so quickly, because the technology works on your PC, it works on your iPhone, it works on whatever the device you have, people can be productive from day one. So they buy a company, they hire a person, and pretty much right away, that person's got all the tools that everybody else does. You know, the final thing that TRC talks about in the case study on the telephony side, PBXs in particular, is they really like the idea of eliminating buying a PBX system, buying all the telephone systems and carrying that as capital and replacing that instead with a pay-as-you-go approach. So again, download the deck. There are links to these two case studies. You can find more of them, but for me, they really get me thinking about the different ways that companies can use this, or organizations can use this to help in the business. All right, the next slide down. If in your company you've never tried it before, you've never used it, if perhaps you don't even have rights to use it in Office 365, we make it pretty easy. Here's a link. You can write this one down without even downloading the deck. This E5 trial is it's a free 30-day trial. You can have a number of your colleagues in your organization try it out, and it's pretty much everything in Office 365. It's got almost all of the Skype for Business stuff. It even includes dial-in conferencing if you're in a country where we're selling that today. It doesn't include the PSTN calling, but actually, if you talk with your Microsoft sales team, we can add that as well. So if your company hasn't used this yet, or you haven't tried it yourself yet, go to this link, get a trial, try it out. It's fun, and it's great technology, and it's something I use every day and we use every day and just love it. So give it a try. If on the other hand, you have rights to it, I hope you're familiar with FASTTRACK, which is a built-in part of Office 365. The idea of FASTTRACK is to help you be successful. And you can see there are a few different parts of FASTTRACK. It starts with really helping you define your vision and plan for a rollout. It goes, we call it envisioning. It goes through onboarding, moving to Office 365, being ready to move, make sure you've got everything in place so that you can, as the slide says, do it smoothly and with confidence, and then really help realize the value by boosting user engagement. A month or so ago, we actually extended FASTTRACK. I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of it. It's now available, the FASTTRACK service, in addition to what's on the website, it's now available to any customer with more than 50 seats. It used to be slightly higher than that. So if you're a medium-sized organization, maybe 100 people in it, until about a month and a half ago, it wasn't available to you. It is now. So it can be very, very helpful. You can check out the link up on the top there, fasttrack.microsoft.com/office. And again, the idea of FASTTRACK is we've got experts, we've got content to help you get started with a deployment very, very quickly, and to do it right, essentially. There are specific things in FASTTRACK for Skype for Business. So I pulled out one slide just to talk about some of those things that the FASTTRACK onboarding assistance will deliver. You can read on the slide there. I'll give you a few moments to look at it. You know, we help you with the sort of traditional services that we have in Skype for Business, also the new ones that we just delivered starting in December, like PSTN conferencing, like the Skype meeting broadcast, which we're using right now, like the Cloud PBX. Jamie's talked about Cloud PBX on previous broadcasts, and I think at the end he may even give an update on some of the technology there. I'm looking at his video to see if he's going to nod and say yes.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, so actually, I wanted to jump in a little bit earlier, and my action on the mute button was delayed past the time that I was actually talking. So I was talking on mute as one of the wonderful things that we are always used to doing. But yeah, I know. I just want to reiterate the capabilities that we have set up with FASTTRACK really are pretty remarkable, and they are completely designed around helping customers be able to get the most out of their subscriptions to Office 365. I mean, that's just all what this boils down to. And that the fact that it's not just around kind of the standard sort of things you would imagine for Office 365, like being able to do email migration and those types of things, but then also being able to have actually deploying hybrid services, being able to do capabilities like setting up Office 365 and having that operate in conjunction with a server. It's pretty remarkable sets of capability. Back to you, BJ.
Thanks very much, Jamie. All right, and I think, Jamie, your video style, there's my back to me on the video. Awesome. So FASTTRACK can help you get started. I mentioned that adoption is something that with the right plan, you can really make a difference on. These are a couple slides actually that are from a broadcast that was done. Gosh, it was probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. You can find it in the archive of broadcast. Jamie can tell you exactly where that is. We basically did a whole broadcast on adoption planning. And this slide basically says, look, we've seen from experience that if you plan for adoption as you're planning the rest of your deployment, essentially you can get the users using it much faster, which means they get the benefits faster, your organization gets the value of it faster. It's a pretty simple idea, I suppose, but we've seen in Skype for Business where the change from the traditional communication solution is somewhat dramatic for people. If you imagine that your people are used to using a desk phone that only works on their desk in the office, and you give them something that works everywhere, rings on their Android phone and their PC, it might take a little getting used to. Or if they're used to just a dial-in conference where they can't see any content, they can't see the thing the other person's working on, they can't see video. It can take a little bit of effort for them to learn sort of the value of sharing the desktop or the PowerPoint, of sharing video so you could see things like Jamie's smiling face in the morning and get the nonverbal communication. So what we've seen is you can get much faster to value if you plan from the beginning for adoption. And so as part of FASTTRACK, there is adoption planning assistance. You can see there are things like success workshops, resources to help jumpstart your project. In Skype for Business, we've actually provided a number of fairly deep resources that you can use. They're shown here on the slide. Again, you can download the deck and get these links. Both an adoption workshop, sort of to help you walk through how you can get the best adoption of it, and then some materials that you can use with people in your org to make it easier for them. Basically some of the self-help materials, if you will. So these two things along with FASTTRACK are things you can use in your org. If you've already started using Skype for Business, they may help you get more out of it. So you don't have to invent the materials or the approach yourself. You can just take advantage of some of these things that we provide. I promised I was going to go sort of at a very high level and go through this, give you links. Here's a summary of this, some suggested steps. The first is if you're not using Skype for Business yet, or if you're using parts of it, take a little bit of time of assessing how we might be able to help your organization. As I said earlier, it can be much better outcomes through better communications. Some of the examples like the Kelly services and the TRC, where they're actually able to make business happen faster and more quickly for the people in the orgs by taking advantage of the more modern communications. The other is, it may be as simple as you already own rights to the Skype for Business capabilities but aren't using it. If that's true and you're using a competitive solution, we may be able to lower your cost and simplify management by eliminating, or at the very least reducing, the use of those other ones. I mentioned WebEx before, I mentioned GoToMeeting. If you're managing Office 365 and those separately, gosh, you can eliminate one of those, and over time you can deliver more and more to your end users. So a couple of the things that can help are that free E5 trial below. If you've never tried it, try it out. Get a few of the people you work closely with, try it using that free E5 trial and see how it can really change how you work. If you've an Office 365 customer and not yet using Skype for Business, consider taking advantage of your FASTTRACK benefits to get started. It's a great way to get started on the right track and to make sure that you're planning the deployment and the rollout in the right way to make it go smoothly, to make it go quickly. You know, if you've got it already, you know, maybe you've got some of the people in your org using and you want to accelerate that, or you're planning for it and you want to make sure it goes great. Take advantage of the adoption benefit. Look at the adoption materials that are linked here, the adoption workshop, some of the resources that can be used with your end users. You know, and finally, as I mentioned before, there are all the links in this deck are hyperlinks over to places on our website where you can get more information. And you can use that simple URL, aka.ms/startsfb, to download this and get those links. Hey, Jamie, unmute here, my friend. Let's see if Jamie's going to take over. All right. I think we're still in the Q&A manager. So if you are still in the Q&A manager, please enter your questions there or comments. I'd love to know if this is useful. As I said, we usually go a bit deeper rather than a high-level survey as this one is. All right, I've just put the title slide up here. Thanks everybody for joining today. We did have a pretty good number of people joining, companies of all different sizes, which is always great to see. And if you do have any questions or comments, please use the Q&A manager that's part of the broadcast to do that. Looks like my colleague Paul has joined. Paul, did you join to add anything to the broadcast?
Hey, BJ, can you hear me?
Yeah, of course.
Great. Yeah, no, I just wanted to let you know that we were having a little bit of technical difficulties with Jamie's microphone at the moment. And so we're trying to get those straightened out. But there are questions coming in over the Q&A. And I wanted to give you some poll results. It looks like a lot of people are still kind of learning about FASTTRACK. So I don't know if I know you've covered it a little bit, but if you want to just reiterate some of the key points on FASTTRACK, that would be great.
Absolutely. You know, the first one is I'll pull up that other slide so you can see the URL, because actually there's a pretty good doing that as we speak. There's a pretty good web content. A great place to start is actually the FASTTRACK Center on the web. Let me go back to that page. Give me just a second. And then I will give a bit more of the background on it. All right, just building out here. You know, so FASTTRACK are, you can see there first the link, fasttrack.microsoft.com/office. You can pull it up in a browser right now if you want. The idea, of course, is we want customers who choose Office 365 to be able to easily take advantage of it. And so we've built and are building, we're still on a journey and we have more to do, but we've built this idea of FASTTRACK to have two things to help our customers who choose Office 365. The first is a set of content. So it's on the website, you'll see that we've organized it into these categories that are shown on the slides of how you envision defining what you want to do with Office 365 across the workloads, how you onboard, which is around deploying, rolling out, and then how you drive value, which is around user adoption. And so FASTTRACK really has two big pieces to it. The first is the content, which is all available on the internet. It's available to anyone who wants to see it, and allows you to really get acquainted with how to do it, sort of at least how we think about doing it. The second piece then is actually engineers or Microsoft, folks from Microsoft who will help you do it. So that's the part where if you have 50 or more seats, there are FASTTRACK experts who you can engage to help in these different areas of envisioning, onboarding, and driving value. And you can see there are a few different ways you can engage them. You know, if you work with some of the Microsoft folks, like the technical account managers, they can help connect you with FASTTRACK. You can also actually do it via the web, and our goal there is to make it very simple. As I said, it's built into the service, and again, there's both content and direct help. Looks like Jamie has rejoined us. Hi, Jamie.
Hey, can you hear me okay there, BJ?
You sound great.
Yeah, so yeah, funny thing, we have the whole idea of, having multiple workstations, a little bit of backup and that sort of thing. And so, the workstation that was driving the video, everything looked fine, but I couldn't come off mute. I had a hard mute. And anyway, so just to prove that this is actually working, I'll flip over back to my video, and you can tell this is a totally different thing. This is not the video that you had before. Hey, yeah, really appreciate the content that you were sharing here. I just want to reiterate, at the top of everybody's screen, you can see a link there to download all the presentation materials. BJ just had a whole lot of material in here that are all references to different programs and different things that we have going on here at the company that folks can take advantage of. Most importantly, FASTTRACK. We also put in the Q&A manager the direct links out to all the different Microsoft case studies that we've published. Those all go straight out to Microsoft.com/case studies. We have a few that are in the pipeline now for some things like, the Cloud Connector edition, for example, that is coming up very, very, very soon. Normally we talk about availability of software happening in quarters. For a while with the Cloud Connector edition, we're talking about the availability with respect to weeks. Now we're talking about availability with respect to days, and so we're very excited to have that software come out, and with that, a bunch of great feedback from companies about their experience. I am getting reminded by my colleague Paul here that the Mac preview broadcast will be happening on April 22nd. So 2 weeks from now, we're gonna have a preview broadcast talking about the Mac. Clearly, there's a bunch of goodness coming on there that we can't wait to tell folks about. So really excited about that. I'm going to throw it back to BJ here for a second. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think we may have some people on the broadcast today who haven't joined the earlier ones. You may want to quickly explain what Cloud Connector is, just in case.
Yeah, absolutely. That's totally fine. So Cloud Connector Edition. So first, let me step back a little bit. With Office 365 and Cloud PBX, we have two different ways that you can have hook up into the public switch phone network. One of those ways is, of course, using the PSTN calling service that Microsoft has available for folks in the US. The other way is to use software on premises. So essentially, Skype software running on your premises that on the one hand is connecting up to Office 365 and Cloud PBX, and on the other hand is going and connecting to your PBX or your gateway or session border controller, IP telephony service provider. We kind of lump all of those into a term of your next top SIP peer, essentially just the way that you're going to have calls go and egress out to the public switch network. So you can use Link Server 2013 to do that. You can use Skype for Business Server 2015 to do that. We've actually got a lot of customers that are testing out this capability at various scales. What Cloud Connector does is says, look, instead of running the full-blown Skype for Business server software, if you're just looking to do that part about cloud connectivity for PSTN, if you're just looking to do the case where users homed in Office 365 have their phone calls go out through your existing PSTN circuits, if that's all that you're looking for, you don't want to have meetings hosted on-prem, you don't want to have users hosted on-prem, that sort of thing, then let's just package up just those essential bits of software in order to do that work. And so it kind of boils down to a handful of virtual machines that we're allowing folks to download for free off of the internet very, very, very soon. And so and so again, super exciting to be able to do this, because instead of having to set up all of the requirements of the server, which in some cases can be pretty significant, this is a much more straightforward approach. So you just need to go spin up these VMs, connect them into Office 365, do the telephony connectivity, and then you're up and running. Many of our early customer deployments we're deploying in matter of hours, which is significant and pretty great. One of the things I'm being reminded by Paul, we've had in preview the Cloud Connector Edition. We've had in an early preview Mac. We have a lot of preview programs operating simultaneously that customers can participate in. All of these previews, there's one-stop shop to go and participate in them, and that is skypepreview.com. And so there's a fantastic set of content out there. So across mobile, across different telephony capabilities, when we're getting ready for the UK preview of PSTN calling, so that we're kind of in the midst of figuring out like how many numbers do we need from what cities, and what's the distribution across the UK and things like that. So all that work is ongoing. So there's literally like a tremendous number of different programs there that are available to participate in, all at skypepreview.com. BJ, this has been great. Hey, thanks for taking the time, and kind of funny that we both had our own unique and different little hiccups when it comes to the technology today.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining. Hope this was useful. Please give us feedback, of course. If there are no more questions, we may want to wrap this up.
Yeah, it sounds good. I'm not getting any other notes of questions from Paul. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Hey, from live from Redmond and live from Seattle as well from BJ, this is yet another Skype video broadcast. Thanks all for coming out. We generally do these every 2 weeks. So come and check out our next one 2 weeks from Friday at aka.ms/sfbcast. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.